Another reason as to why I don't follow man-made religion is due to the fact that it's brainwashed a lot of people into believing that not only can they just live however way they want without thinking of the repercussions along with punishments and consequences, rather it also plants the seed within the minds of people that we mustn't judge. Really? According to the biblical scriptures, Christ himself was known to righteously judge, wasn't he not? Dun dun dun! But yet, the vast majority of people today are so adamant upon leaning upon their own understanding. I'll rephrase that. People, as a matter of fact, are so adamant in leaning upon their own understanding. And this is why I'm not all that much of a people person either. Because people nowadays, they're under the devil's influence. And like I said, the devil is desperate. He won't stop until he literally tries to destroy, if not kill, God's called. It's no skin off my back. We already know what happens to him in his falling. So we can enjoy the temporary highs, along with excessive bursts of joy and happiness that he gets. He's delusional. We already know, like I said, what happens to those as well that he uses to do his dirty work. What happens, people, once those temporary highs are stripped away from you? What happens? Bad shit starts to happen within the very lives of those involved. That's what happens. That's the part that the devil doesn't let each and every one of you know about. That's where he gets each and every one of you under his spell. He conditions people into believing, oh, well, you can treat God's called and God's chosen however badly you want, right? I may even reward you temporarily with excessive happiness and joy. But what I refuse to tell you is that bad things will begin to happen in your lives as a form of punishment and consequence. And when I say bad things, look at the natural disasters that we have enforced and in play. Storms, floods, death tolls, robberies, and only God knows what else. That's God's way, and kicking the pedestal from under the feet of those that think are actually, in fact, above God's throne. Advice from the troubled, maybe, yet wise, onto people, is do not, and I mean do not, seek after religion in the attempt to find God and find Christ. You're not going to find God nor Christ within man-made religion. I couldn't care less who you are and who this offends. Religion within today's society causes nothing but division and strife. It not only causes division and strife, rather it also attempts to isolate those that challenge it 24/7, that expose it 24/7, that exploit it 24/7. And it attempts to portray those of us in a bad light. That's what religion does. But yet the vast majority of people today, like I said, are so adamant. Oh, I found God, I found Christ in religion. This is great. You're delusional. You're nowhere near close to finding God nor Christ. Let me tell you that much. From an elder. You're nowhere near close. I couldn't care less, like I said, who you are watching this video. Not even remotely close. That's what the devil wants each and every one of the young and naive to believe. Oh, well, if you follow man-made religion, you'll have everything you could possibly need from God and Christ. Wrong answer. See, everything that people do out of their own free will in the attempt to seek after the presence of God and Christ via the Holy Spirit isn't going to be found within man-made cultures, denominations, nor are there presences even of God nor Christ going to be found within the very lives of those that lean upon their own understanding. And this is why I take myself away from a lot of people nowadays, because it gets tiring. It gets extremely tiring. Trying to reach people that are adamant in leaning upon their own understanding. This is why I refuse 9 times out of 10 to help people, because they're adamant, like I said, in leaning upon their own understanding. Oh, well, I know best. Okay, fair enough. I'll leave the young and naive to think they know best then. But don't come crawling back, crying for my help, when bad things upon bad things upon bad things start off small, then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, up to the point where it drives you absolutely insane as a form of punishment and consequence to your actions for not listening. Because I refuse to accept any bullshit sob story along with Oscar performance act that any of you have to sell me, or because you refuse to listen. I'm not buying your nonsense. And I couldn't care less, like I said, if this video royally offends you or not. Because there are people out there, like I said, that are going to be offended. Good. It means that I'm doing something right. It also means that, regardless to the hands I'm dealt, I'm always in control. I can live and think for myself. Unlike the vast majority of sheep today that are just existing. Living small. With limitations upon limitations placed upon the mind. Living off of the opinions, validations, attentions, approvals, and only God knows what else, of the vast majority of people that I can guarantee you now, 9.5 times out of 10, aren't even remotely of God, nor Christ. They're a bunch of degenerates, they're reprobates. And they're also young and naive, a lot of them. Their intention, we already know what their intention is. It's to intentionally attempt to sway people from their faith along with salvation, keeping them trapped within the very spiritual chains of bondage that they inflict upon themselves, thus ultimately planting the seed within time of the minds of both man and woman that they can live however way they want without thinking of the repercussions, the punishments, nor consequences. And that's where the devil gets each and every one of you. He can hide behind his joy and excessive happiness all he wants. He thinks he's winning. But he wasn't smiling with joy and he wasn't acting excessively happy when the Great Flood took place, was he? Of course he wasn't. He soon went from being high and almighty to a whimpering little coward with his balls tucked between his legs, crying upon God for him to stop with the flood and this and that. So much for being a big bad wolf, eh?